Welcome to my channel. SS Andrea Doria 1956. Thank you to my viewer who suggested today's content. The SS Andrea Doria was a passenger ship that was capable of accommodating 1,241 passengers when full. 218 in first class, 320 in cabin class, and 703 in tourist class. Because of the time, it was custom that each passenger class was strictly segregated to specific parts of the ship. Each class on the ship had its own dining areas, lounges, social areas, pools and promenades. There was also 563 crew members on the ship. The ship had been built with a double hull, which was divided into 11 watertight compartments. The ship was equipped with the latest early warning radar, and had 16 lifeboats. The lifeboats could carry all passengers on board. Even though it wasn't the largest or fastest ship of its era, the SS Andrea Doria was regarded as the most beautiful of its time. The ship had completed 100 transatlantic crossings between 1953 and 1956. However, the ship did have its flaws. The ship could develop a huge list when it was hit by any significant force. This was found out during its maiden voyage, when it listed 28 degrees after it was hit by a rogue wave. Her maiden voyage took place on January 14, 1953, where it would travel to New York. During the maiden voyage, the ship ran into a heavy storm on its final approach to New York. The ship arrived at its destination on January 23. On the morning of July 17, 1956, the ship started boarding passengers at 8 a.m. The ship would depart at 11 a.m., where it embarked on the first leg of its journey. The ship headed to Cannes, where more passengers got on board. It then left Cannes and traveled to Naples. Over 700 more passengers boarded. By this time, it was 6 p.m. The ship then departed to Gibraltar, and again more passengers got on board. The ship then departed to its final destination of New York. On Wednesday 25 July, the passenger liner, Stockholm departed New York, heading to Gothenburg, Sweden. The Stockholm departed New York with 534 passengers and 208 crew members on board. The North Atlantic was prone to foggy weather. The Stockholm and the SS Andrea Doria were approaching each other head-on. Each ship was aware of each other through the radar, but had misread each other's course, and no radio contact was made with each other. It wasn't until they were close to each other that the crew realized they were on a head-on course. They tried to make evasive maneuvers, but it was too late, and they couldn't avoid each other. At 11:10 p.m., the two ships collided. 5 fuel tanks on the Andrea Doria were torn open, and tons of seawater flooded in, causing a severe list. Only one of the watertight compartments had been penetrated. However, because of the list, seawater entered the ship's corridors and stairwell. The Coast Guard received radio messages that 2 passenger ships had collided. The captain of the Andrea Doria decided to abandon ship within 30 minutes of the collision, but because he found not all the lifeboats could be launched, due to the list, he decided not to inform the passengers to abandon ship, as he didn't want to start a panic. The passengers were instructed to put on their life vests and go to their designated muster stations. The French ocean liner, Ile de France, arrived on the scene at 2 a.m., and would help rescue the passengers. The captain on board the Stockholm determined that his ship was not in danger of sinking, so sent some of their lifeboats to the Andrea Doria, to help get the passengers off the ship. Many passengers would be taken onto the Stockholm. 1,663 passengers and crew were rescued from the Andrea Doria. The Stockholm took on board 545 survivors. A number of passengers and crew were taken to hospital once they arrived in New York. Andrea Doria started to sink at 9:45 a.m. the next day, and finally sunk 10 hours after the collision. Sadly, 51 people were lost in the collision and sinking. 46 were from the Andrea Doria, and 5 from the Stockholm. No remains were ever recovered, and it is believed that they are entombed within the wreck. After the accident, a hearing was conducted in New York. Both shipping companies contributed to a settlement fund, set up for the victims. It was found that the primary cause of the collision was the foggy conditions, which had made area challenging. The accident led to several changes in the years that followed. This included better radar systems, better training on reading the radar screens for crew members. The Stockholm would eventually be repaired. However, over the years, questions were raised about the incident. One of these is why the two ships were still speeding in heavy fog, knowing the conditions would be a challenge. If they hadn't been traveling so fast, would they have had time to avoid any collision? The Andrea Doria is frequently explored by divers, even though the wreck has deteriorated over the years. Sadly, however, at least 22 divers have died exploring the wreck. Remembering all the victims of this tragic accident. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel to view other content.